Hey, welcome to Slay the Spire. So I'm still on vacation today. I'll be back on the 11th. In the meantime, yesterday's video, I went over all of the common relics, read them aloud, and then put them in a tier list. I'll do that today as well with the uncommon relics. So yeah, let's get started. And also, I won't be able to read all the comments you have until I'm back. Well, actually, I will be. I guess I'll be able to read the comments. I won't be able to reply to them because I won't have my main account. But I am really curious to hear what you say, if you have any strong opinions on one relic or another. But yeah, let's get started here. So first, we started with the blue candle. Unplayable curse cards cannot be played. Whenever you play a curse, lose 1 HP and exhausted. The flame ignites when shrouded in darkness. So that for me is a B relic. And again, just as a reminder, my tiers are S tier is definitely a relic that you would buy at a shop. Top tier relic, amazing. A tier is that it's a great relic in almost all situations, so we'll definitely buy it. B is that it's a good relic. It can be great in some situations, and I'm happy to see it and happy to buy it. C is decent relic, good in certain situations, but I would buy it if I have gold left over, but nothing amazing. D is neutral, like if I get it I won't complain, but I also wouldn't pay money for it. And then F is horrible. I guess I should say that F should be, if it's an F relic, it should be a common relic, not an uncommon relic. And especially for dailies, this is all for dailies, of course. For dailies, it is not going to be that useful. So blue candle, I think, is solid B tier, mostly because it's not higher. It can be a really good relic, especially because most often of the time in dailies, you are trying to get enough curses. So it could be higher if you're getting curses. Unfortunately, it's not that you always are trying to get curses, and also it's not that you always get curses. So there are definitely been a bunch of runs where I had blue candle and no curses to use it. Now, admittedly, there also been a lot of runs where I did have curses and blue candle did save me, especially with normalities. And sometimes without blue candle, for example, if you have Runic Pyramid and normalities and you don't have blue candle, it's pretty much game over. But other than that, now that I talk about that, I wonder if I should put it in A tier. I guess A tier said that it's good in almost all situations, but I think blue candle, I would estimate it's like a 70% success rate. Like 70% of the time it's really useful and 30% it's not really necessary. So I'm going to stick with B tier for blue candle. The next we have the Bottle Flame, Bottle Lightning, and Bottle Tornado. So up in pickup, choose an attack, skill, or power. Start each combat with this card in your hand. So Bottle Flame, the splash text says, inside the bottle resides a flame that eternally burns. Peering into the swirling maelstrom, you see a part of yourself staring back. That's interesting. And Bottle Tornado says, the bottle gently hums and whirls. So I'm just going to put, to rank them all together, I think they're all B tier too. Now, again, it is, sometimes it can be really useful. Like, for example, if you're playing with the Watcher and you got Bottle Flame and you can put a Tantrum in your opening hand, right? And you have a Mind Blast, for example. Or with Bottle Lightning and Crescendo or something like that, right? So sometimes it can be really good. Oftentimes, it's okay. It's nothing amazing, especially if you get it early on. You don't have enough good cards. And then one danger with the bottles is that if you pick a card with the bottle, you cannot remove it at a shop. Now, I do remember that there was not a glitch, I guess some sort of weird, it's not even a bug, right? A feature where you can remove it. If I think you get it, you get a card removal in an event. I think there was definitely a way. I think somebody mentioned that they were able to basically remove a bottle card, but I think I did that too, somewhat by accident at one point. But yeah, basically the reason I'm mentioning that is if you're trying to go for Pauper and you bottle a rare card, you cannot remove that rare card and you will lose Pauper. So there's definitely some disadvantages there. And also, I should mention that Bottle Tornado is an interesting relic because it only shows up if your deck already has a power. Now, so basically what that means is that if you have two people who play the daily and one person picks up a power from a regular fight, the other person doesn't, then the person that has the power will be offered the Bottle Tornado. Now that might shift the RNG for the relics completely. And I do distinctly remember a few runs where I had a lower score, and from the commenters it was clear that I had picked up a power. I got into Bottle Tornado. As a result, I did not get other good relics, or at least not in the right order, and as a result I got a lower score. Now admittedly, it also happened the other way, that when you have a power, you bottle it, you do well, and other people don't get it and have worse luck. But yeah, so sometimes it can mess up the RNG, especially because Bottle Tornado compared to other relics is not that amazing. So yeah, I'll put it in B tier. Well, all the bottles together in B tier. Maybe the Bottle Tornado will be slightly lower in B tier. At the end of the video, we'll put it on the tier list. Right now, I'm just reading that aloud. The next we have Darkstone Periapt. Whenever you obtain a curse, increase your max HP by 6. The stone draws power from dark energy, converting it into vitality for the wearer. So Darkstone Periapt for me is C tier. Now it is not a bad relic, and especially in dailies when you're trying to go for curses, it can translate into a lot of max HP. But similar to Blue Candle, it's not always that you A, get enough curses, and B, want to go for curses. And then as opposed to Blue Candle, it's not super necessary. Like sometimes it does help you get extra points from having well-fed or the stuff modifier. Other times you are already getting those modifiers. Other times you have too little HP to even worry about those modifiers. So yeah, I think it is solid C tier. It's not a bad relic. I will buy it if I have gold left over, or of course if I know that I'm going to get a lot of curses. But without it, I think it is C tier. The next we have Duality. This is a Watcher-only relic. Whenever you play an attack, gain 1 temporary dexterity, and the sun is extinguished forever as if curtains fell before it. Zoroth. I'm not sure who Zoroth is. But so Duality for me is an A-tier relic. It is basically Smooth Stone on crack. So the common relic Smooth Stone gives you 1 dexterity for each fight. Duality, usually you're able to play more than 1 attack, so that translates to more than 1 dexterity. And then especially if you have a way to remove the artifact, or to remove the debuff, or if you have an artifact potion or something like that, you can save that permanent energy, the permanent dex. The only reason it is not S tier is because it does require you to have a lot of attacks, and sometimes you just don't have enough attacks for it to be very valuable. But yeah, generally it is pretty valuable. It's probably high at the top of A tier. So very big fan of Duality there. The next we have Eternal Feather. For every 5 cards in your deck, heal 3 HP whenever you enter a rest site. This feather appears to be completely indestructible. What bird does this possibly come from? So for me, this I think is a decent D relic. So it is, again, in dailies, I mentioned that in yesterday's video too, in dailies HP is not a big problem. Like sometimes it is, sometimes you can die if you're not careful, but usually Ascension 0 is not too difficult. You don't have a lot of trouble with HP, and as a result, you don't really need that many ways to heal. Now again, it is nice, that's what D tier is, right? I won't complain, I won't pay money for it, but if I get it, I'll be happy. So yeah, solid D tier for Eternal Feather. The next you have Frozen Egg, and I will, I guess, put it together with all the other eggs. So you have Frozen Egg, Molten Egg, and Toxic Egg, and I'll read those splash cards when I get to them. All of them, for me, are C tier. Now, they can be really good. Well, first of all, let me read this. Whenever you add a power card into your deck, for, I guess, the other eggs, it's a skill card or an attack card. So, upgrade it. The egg lies inert and frozen, never to hatch. So, it is really powerful if you this upgrading is generally disabled, but usually, it is a decent relic. It can be good in certain situations. If it's early in the run, I will take it, I will buy it, and it will help me upgrade all the cards. Having a bunch of cards upgraded is very valuable. If it shows up late, it's not that valuable because most of the good cards have already been upgraded. So it is a mixed bag. I think C means that it is a decent relic, good in some situations, and if I have gold left over and is early in the run, I will buy it, but yeah, I don't think it's anything higher than C. The next we have Gold-Plated Cables. This is a defect-only relic. Your rightmost orb triggers its passive an additional time. Interesting. Even automatons are affected by placebo. Ranwid. Interesting. What does it mean by that? Affected by placebo. Oh, I think it means that gold-plated cables are said to be better, but are probably not better. So that's what it means by placebo. Like, it appears to be better, but it's actually not better. I think I read something about audio cables supposedly being better when they're covered in gold, but it's not actually true. Anyway, all right. So gold-plated cables for me is solid B tier. So it can be great with some orbs, and I usually go for orb decks with the defect, right? So when I go for orbs, it is basically like a new orb slot because it triggers its passive additional time. So imagine if you started with 3 orb slots and the first orb it triggers its passive additional time. So basically you have 4 orb slots and one of them is just hidden. It can also be really powerful with dark orbs. It allows you to basically be able to accumulate the dark orb damage faster. So yeah, it is pretty good, especially in an orb deck. B tier is pretty impressive, but yeah, usually I don't think it's any higher than B tier. The next you have Gremlin Horn. Whenever an enemy dies, gain energy and draw 1 card. Gremlin knobs are capable of growing until the day they die. Remarkable. Ranwood. So I think this is a pretty powerful relic. It is a B tier for me. It is high B tier. I think I was considering putting it to A tier. The energy is not that big of a deal. I think the drawing one card is really powerful, especially on Act 2 and 3, when there are fights where you have minions. This does work against minions, so whenever you get rid of one of them, it does allow you to basically make up for the cards that were played to get rid of it. So yeah, I think it can be really powerful. Solid B tier for me. I think usually because it is uncommon, it's a little more expensive in shops, so I don't buy it as often, but you know, if I have the gold, I will definitely buy it. Solid B tier for me. Then we have Horn Cleat. At the start of your second turn, gain 14 block. Pleasant to hold in the hand. What was it for? So Horn Cleat, like Anchor, is B tier for me. It is a very good relic. It triggers one turn late and gives you 4 extra block. Can be really valuable sometimes. Yeah, I think just like with the boat relics, I guess with the other boat relics, I talked about Anchor yesterday a lot. I think it is a solid relic to have. B tier, you know, can be great in some situations, and I'll definitely buy it if I have the gold. Then we have Ink Bottle. Whenever you play 10 cards, draw 1 card. Once exhausted, appears to refill itself in a different color. So Ink Bottle for me, this one is going to be controversial, is F tier. Now, it can be B tier. It also can be F tier sometimes. So basically, it is F tier when you have a deck where you play a lot of cards and you have curses that are annoying, like the Normality Curse. Then it can really ruin things, right? You play 9 cards, you draw a Normality, and then you're stopped. Now, on the other hand, it can sometimes be really powerful. It's basically free card draw every 10 cards, which is not bad, especially with a small deck. Not a small deck, especially with a deck that has a lot of zero-cost cards. So, yeah, I do think in the past it has caused me to lose a bunch of perfects against elites and bosses by, you know, drawing the Normality and doing other stuff. That's why I put it in F tier. I can imagine somebody putting high. I guess I should create a new category that's like, it can be any tier. Like, it can be F, it can be B, it can be A sometimes too, like when you need it. But I think overall I think it is F tier. So yeah, I know it's controversial. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. The next we have Kunai. Every time play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 1 dexterity. And I'm going to give you a heads up. Oh, I guess I should read the splash tag. A blade favored by assassins for its lethality at range. So I will rank this Kunai, Shuriken, Ornamental Fan together in B tier. And now it is not A tier because you still need some sort of multiple attack synergy to be able to really use it, or you need to have a lot of energy. So obviously mostly Shivs would be great for a Kunai deck. There are also a bunch of other zero-cost attack cards that will trigger it a lot. But yeah, so that's why it's not A tier, because you do need some synergies, but you know, once you have the synergies, once you have 3 or more attacks, gaining extra decks every turn is really valuable. So yeah, solid B tier for me. The next we have Letter Opener. Every time you play 3 skills in a single turn, deal 5 damage to all enemies. Unnaturally sharp. So Letter Opener is a solid C tier for me. It is decent. It can be good in certain situations, but ultimately only does 5 damage to all enemies, so it's better on Act 1. On Act 2 and Act 3, the 5 damage is not that big of a deal. So yeah, decent C relic. Nothing amazing, nothing horrible either. Then we have Matryoshka. The next 2 numbers chest you open contain 2 relics. A stackable set of painted dolls. The paint depicts an unknown bird with white eyes and blue feathers. I guess that is an unknown bird with white eyes and blue feathers. I always thought it was an owl. Anyway, so for me, Matryoshka is solid C tier as well. Now, it can help with I Like Shiny. It basically does give you 2 extra relics, and usually, unless you get it after the boss chest, or after the treasure chest on Act 3, usually you are able to get at least 1, if not 2 extra relics out of it. Now, because it's uncommon, usually it's also expensive at the shop, so usually you have to pay 250 gold to then be able to hopefully get 2 extra relics. So I'm not sure if it's always worth it. That's why I put it in C tier. Sometimes worth it. If I have gold left over, I'll buy it, but yeah, nothing super amazing. Then we have Meat on the Bone. If your HP is at or below 50% at the end of combat, heal 12 HP. The meat keeps replenishing, never seeming to fully run out. Alright, so Meat on the Bone for me is D tier. Again, this goes back to all the other relics that give you HP. So unless you have trouble with HP, then of course it's higher. But usually, again, you don't really care for HP that much in daily. So being able to heal, again, it is nice. For Ascension runs, it's pretty crucial. It does allow you to heal quite a bit. Allows you, when you're with an Ironclad, to deal a lot of self-damage cards. For dailies, I would rank it D. It's nice. Again, there are some situations where I will definitely buy it at a shop, but most of the time, I think it's a solid D tier. The next we have Mercury Hourglass. At the start of your turn, deal 3 damage to all enemies. An enchanted hourglass that endlessly drips. So for me, this is F tier. Now, it is not horrible, especially in the early game. I don't think it should be an uncommon relic, though. I think it should be a common relic. Now, again, in the early fights on Act 1, 3 damage to all enemies can make a big difference. On Act 3, when it really matters, where you have to perfect the leads and bosses, 3 damage is just a drop in the bucket. So that's why I put it in F tier. And again, I'm not saying that it's about relic. I'm just saying it shouldn't be uncommon. It should be common at least. So yeah, not a huge fan of the Mercury Hourglass. The next we have Molten Egg. Whenever you add an attack into deck upgraded, the egg of a phoenix. It glows red hot with a simmering with a simmering lava. Oh, there's lava inside the egg. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that. I talked about it when I talked about the frozen egg. It is C tier, decent relic. Then we got Mummified Hand. Whenever you play a power card around card in your hand, goes 0 that turn. Frequently twitches, especially when your pulse is high. Oh, that's kind of creepy. So for me, Mummified Hand is A tier. Now, I know some people, and I'm looking at you, Malazan, would put Mummified Hand at S tier. I guess I don't... Like, sometimes it is S tier. It's not always... Like, I think the Watcher is probably the one character where a power deck is nice, but not, like, a good winning strategy. Probably Ironclad as well, although Ironclad does have a lot of really powerful powers. But yeah, so that's basically my point, is it's not always that you need Mummified Hand. When you have it, it is nice, but that's why I don't think it goes into S tier. S tier means that it's, you know, top tier. I will definitely buy it. I will use it every time. A tier means that it is a great relic in almost all situations, which is why I'm putting in A tier. I think it's well-deserved A tier, and I could argue that it could be S tier as well, but yeah, I think A tier is better. Then we got Ninja Scroll. This is a silent-only relic. At the start of each combat, add 3 shifts into your hand. Contains the secret of assassination. Alright, so Ninja Scroll for me is B tier. Now, it does work well with a lot of other synergies. Kunai, Shuriken, Ornamental Fan, all of these work really well with Ninja Scroll. Being able to start each fight with 3 shivs, Bag of Marbles as well, being able to have vulnerability on it as well. So yeah, it does work great with other things. On its own, I think it is B tier. It can be really good. It can be bad. It is a decent relic. I will usually take it just because I am hoping for the other relics to show up that will help it. But yeah, just on its own, I think it's B tier. Which again, B tier is good. I shouldn't say that B tier is bad. Alright, so next we have Ornamental Fan. Every time play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 4 block. The fan seems to extend and harden as blood is spilled. That's also creepy. So yeah, as I mentioned with Kunai, same with Shuriken and Ornamental Fan, it is B tier, and again, not A tier because there are some synergies where it's not that useful, but usually it is. I would even place it high B tier because it can be really powerful. Then next we have Pentograph. At the start of boss combats, heal 25 HP. Solid foundations are not accidental. Tools for planning are a must. The Architect. So Pentograph for Ascension runs, very powerful, very important, especially because on Act 3 you have 2 boss fights. So this does allow you to heal between those boss fights. That's the only way to heal between those boss fights. But for dailies, I will put it in D tier. It's together with all the other HP relics from yesterday's run, where I actually think I put them in C tier, didn't I? Nope, never mind. I put all the HP relics in D tier as well. So yeah, I think this is well-deserved D tier. Again, I will take it if I have nothing else to spend my gold on, but usually HP is not a concern. And actually, again, something like the Hexaghost, it can be really bad. So it is not F tier though, right? Because it does help sometimes. So yeah, I think it is solid D tier. Nothing amazing, nothing to be proud of. Then we have Paper Krane, a silent-only relic. Enemies with weak deal 40% less damage rather than 25. This is huge. So I do remember back in... before the defect was out, this relic was even more powerful. It was dealing 50% less damage rather than 25, which was huge. It was just insanely powerful, and that's why they nerfed it to make it 40%, because it was just way too OP. I do think it is a very good relic. In my estimation, it is A tier for sure. And yeah, just powerful, especially because you, with the silent, usually have a lot of weakness synergies. You start out, one of your starter card is a weakness synergy, and so that just makes a big difference whether or not enemies, especially Act 3 bosses and elites, if they attack for 25 or 40%. I think, yeah, 2 days ago, or 3 days ago now, I did have a run where I had it, and it ended up being very helpful, especially against the Nemesis. Oh, I didn't read the splash text. An origami of a creature from a past age. I mean, it's a crane. Yeah, fine. All right, next we have Paper Phrog. Enemies with vulnerable take 75% more damage rather than 50. The paper continually folds and unfolds itself into the shape of a small creature. This is an Ironclad-only relic. So for me, it is B tier. It's not as powerful as Paper Krane. It is nice because usually the Ironclad does have a lot of source of vulnerability, but it's not always the case, and especially the only source of vulnerability for the Ironclad at the beginning is the Bash, which is 2 cost, whereas the neutralize on the silent is 0 cost, so you can always play neutralize. You can't always play bash. That's why I think Paper Phrog is a little lower. Now, admittedly, it does make getting overkill slightly easier, especially if you have Bag of Marbles and the Mind Blast. But yeah, you need to have other things to make it really powerful. On itself, not bad, but I will put it in B tier. Then next we have Pear. Pick up raise your max HP by 10. A common fruit before the Spire Blight. So Pear for me is a solid C tier, just like Strawberry. It is nice. It does give you max HP. Might help you get well fed and stuff modifier. But yeah, ultimately it is a nice relic. Nothing too amazing. Then we have Question Card. Future card rewards have one additional card to choose from. Those with more choices minimize the downside to chaos. Kublai the Great. Okay, now I'm sure that is not the Mongol leader, but instead it's somebody from the Spire. So Question Card for dailies, and again, I'm emphasizing that this is for dailies. For Ascension runs, I wouldn't put it as high. For dailies, I am putting it in B tier. Now, this is especially valuable when you're trying to get more collector bonuses, especially if you have a Hoarder run or if you get this early on in the run. Being able to have one additional card to choose from does increase the chance of being able to get more collector bonuses. So yeah, solid B tier for me. The reason it's not higher is because, you know, if you're not going for collector bonuses, it's not that valuable. And also, you know, it is still luck dependent, right? It just increases the chance by just a little bit getting an additional card. It does not guarantee extra collector bonuses. And then we have an Ironclad only relic, the Self-Forming Clay. Whenever you lose HP, gain 3 block next turn. Most curious, it appears to form itself loosely on my thoughts. Teleclay? Says Randwood. So for me, Self-Forming Clay is D tier. Now, it only works well with self-damage decks, which admittedly the Ironclad does have a lot of access to. And also with curses, of course. But I think outside of those niche use cases, it is, again, not bad, not amazing. Can be good in certain situations. I think this is a solid D tier. Then next we have Shuriken. Every time play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 1 strength. Lightweight throwing weapons. Recommend for going for the eyes. Okay. So that together with Kunai and Ornamental Fan is a solid B tier. And again, can be useful sometimes if you have enough attacks. I guess with a silent Shiv deck, it can be really powerful. Then we got Singing Bowl. When adding cards into a deck, you may raise your max HP by 2 instead. This well-used artifact rings out with a beautiful melody when struck. So I put Singing Bowl in D tier, and the reason is for Ascension runs, I would actually put it in A tier, because in Ascension runs, you're trying to keep the deck thin as possible, and there, being able to not only reject the card, but get max HP out of it is a huge help. For dailies, it's the opposite. You're trying to get as many cards as possible, so you're not gonna have that many opportunities to use it, and the extra 2 max HP is nice, but usually it's not amazing. So if I see it at the shop, I won't really buy it unless I have nothing else to do with my gold. Again, just because usually you're trying to pick up every single card, and you're not trying to you're not trying to reject cards. But yeah, Ascension runs, really powerful relic. Very big fan for Ascension runs there. Then we've got Strike Dummy. Cuts containing strike deal 3 additional damage. It's speed up. So Strike Dummy for me is F tier. I don't think it should be an uncommon relic. It should be a common relic. It is very niche. It works well with the strike deck on the Ironclad. Now, admittedly, every character does have strike cards, so it does help. It can help every character, but outside of that niche, I don't think it's very valuable. So yeah, for me, this is solid F tier. Yeah, should be a common relic. I would pretty much never buy this at a shop unless I have literally nothing else to do with my gold. Then we got Sundial. Every 3 times you shuffle drop pile, gain 2 extra energy. Early man's foolish obsession with time caused them to look to the sky for guidance, hoping for something permanent. Zoroth. So Sundial for me is C tier. Now, it is very good together with cards like Reboot or Deep Breath, which forces you to reshuffle. The problem that it's not higher, for dailies, you are very unlikely to reshuffle because usually your deck gets very large very quickly, so you are not able to reshuffle unless you have a lot of discard synergies, or if it's early on where you haven't accumulated as many cards yet. That's why I think it is C tier. Now, admittedly, it is free extra energy, especially when you can reshuffle a lot with the cards I mentioned, Reboot and Deep Breath. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's somewhat niche use, so yeah, C tier for me, probably low C tier too. The next we have a defect-only relic, Symbiotic Virus. At the start of each combat, channel 1 dark. A little bit of bad can do a lot of good. Okay, so for me, this is D tier. Now, I do think it should be common. It is not F tier, though, because it can give you overkill easily. Now, especially if there's no other good source to getting Dark Orbs or getting overkill, this can help you get 25 points relatively easy in a defect run. That's why it's not F tier, but it only works in certain decks. Now, you need to create a lot of orbs, be able to generate orbs, which I usually do because I usually go for orb decks. But yeah, if you focus, for example, on not having a lot of orbs, or maybe just saving the orbs with Frost Orbs, then it's not that great. Still, I think solid D tier for me. I will buy it sometimes just to get overkill. Then we got Teardrop Locket, a Watcher-only relic. Start each combat in calm. Its owner blind, its contents unseen. Interesting. So Teardrop Locket for me is F tier, mostly because it should be common. I do think it can be very useful in some situations, but usually, so basically the most use out of it is if you are entering, if you want to enter Wrath and you just need extra energy, it can be very helpful. But yeah, I don't know. I think there was a run a few, was it a week ago almost, where you started off with a specialized 5 copies of Like Water. Now there, it was S tier. Having Teardrop Locket being able to be in Calm always is very nice. But usually, again, I think with the Watcher, you are going for a stand shift deck. You are able to exit into Wrath fairly frequently. This just gives you 1 time 2 energy boost in each fight, possibly. And I think I don't think it deserves uncommon. I think it should be common now. I do think this is controversial. Let me know in the comments if you feel differently here. But yeah, I don't think this should deserve an uncommon relic. And then we got Courier. The merchant restock cards, relics, and potions, and alt prices are reduced by 20%. The merchant's personal pet. Yeah, this is S tier. I don't think there's any surprise that I almost always take this. It is super powerful in dailies. Usually, a lot of people, even if they decided to go for Highlander, including myself, if they decide to go for Highlander and they see Courier, they might decide to switch and go for collector bonuses, especially if you can then also get the 999 gold from the normality event, and then you can, that almost guarantees you being able to get a few extra collectibles at the shop. So yeah, really powerful relic, definitely S tier for dailies. Now, admittedly, for non-dailies, for Ascension runs, not that powerful, but dailies, definitely S tier. Then we got Toxic Egg. Whenever you add a skill into your deck upgraded, what a marvelous discovery. This appears to be the inert egg of some magical creature. Who or what created this? Ranwood. So yeah, just like as the Frozen and Molten Egg, I think this is solid C tier. Again, advantages, disadvantages. If you get it early, it can be really powerful. It does upgrade things like the apparitions. If you get the Toxic Egg before the apparitions, it does upgrade all of them, so it can be very useful there. But yeah, solid C tier for me. And then lastly, we got White Beast Statue. Potions always appear in combat rewards. A small white statue of a creature you have never seen before. I guess I was going to say this looks like a mammoth, but no, it is just like a mammoth with weird trunks. Is it a rabbit with a weird disorder? No, all right. So in my mind, I used to not like White Beast Statue that much, but I think in dailies, it is A tier. Mostly because in dailies, you do rely a lot on potions, so being able to generate a potion after every fight is pretty powerful. Now, admittedly, sometimes when you don't have White Beast Statue, you do start to think of how useful it is when you have like 5 fights in a row and none of them give you a potion, and then you can't perfect an elite because you were missing like a strength potion or something. So yeah, that's why I think it is solid A tier. It is a little expensive, so it's not like a must take on a shop, but I will try to buy it if I can in the shop. All right, so that's it for the uncommon relics. Let's open up the tier list and rank them all there. All right, so here is the tier list, and again, I will make an image of this available. This is done using Tiermaker. Okay, so let's start with Blue Candle, which I put in B tier. So first we'll put them in, and then we'll order them. The bottles were all B tier. Okay, let me make a decision. I think Blue Candle is high B tier. Actually, the bottles are really good. Well, they can be really good too. I sort of see them equal. Bottle Tornado is on the lower side though. Actually, Bottled Lightning is higher. It is for skills, and I feel like there are way more skills that I would like to have bottled than attacks, generally. Now, of course, there's things like Tantrum and Eruption I would like to bottle, but yeah. Let's put this here, and then I think I'll put some relics in between them too. Then next we have the Darkstone Periapt, which I had put in C tier. Okay. Next we got Duality, right? Duality I had put in very high up in A tier, really good relic. Eternal Feather is D tier. Then we have the eggs, which I had put all in C tier, and I think there it makes sense. Maybe I'll put the Frozen Egg a little lower, because usually you get way more attacks and skill than you get powers, but yeah, they're I think pretty equal on in that respect. Then we have Gold-Plated Cables, which I put in B tier. Oof, okay, where should it go? I do think the Blue Candle is pretty high up on B tier. I also think the Bottle Lightning is high up. I think I'll put Gold-Plated Cables after that. And again, it's hard to compare because Gold-Plated Cables is a defect-only relic, and all the other relics are for all characters. So, but yeah, I think it'll go to the middle of B tier. Then we have Gremlin Horn, which I think is also B tier, closer to A. I will still put it after the Blue Candle. I think Blue Candle is pretty good. Then next we have Horn Cleat, which I think together with all the boat parts I put in B tier, somewhat in the middle. Yeah, let's put it right here. Again, it can help perfect a fight where you might not have enough HP. Let's put it right here. Okay, good. Then next we have Ink Bottle, which, again, I did mention that it was somewhat controversial, but I do think it is F tier. Yeah, again, it has happened too many times that I drew an Malady on my 10th card and it ruined my whole fight and getting a perfect out of it. So I think it is F tier. It can. There are situations where it can be really powerful, but mostly I think it is F tier. Then next we have all the ones that trigger when you play 3 attacks. So Kunai, Shuriken, and Ornamental Fan. I put them all in B tier, and I think this is pretty high B tier. So yeah, let's put them all in here. I think I'll put the Ornamental Fan first because getting the extra block is very nice. Then getting strength, then getting X. Although I think they're pretty equal here. Then next we have the letter opener, which I think is C tier. Probably, it's at the bottom because it only does 5 damage, which is not that big of a deal. But it does help, and it does 5 damage to all enemies, so it can be nice. The next we have Matryoshka, which is also C tier. And again, it can help with I Like Shiny, but I think it's pretty low. Let's put it above the letter opener, though. Okay. The next we have Meat on the Bone, and again, as with all the other HP relics, I put it in D tier just because, unless you have trouble with HP, I think you should be able to handle it. The next we have Mercury Hourglass, which the only reason I'm putting it in F tier is because it can be useful in daily runs. I think it should not be uncommon. It is not good enough of a card for dailies to be an uncommon card, so I put it in F tier there. The next we have Mummified Hand, which again I put in A tier. I think I'll put it in high A tier. Again, I do know some people who think it is S tier, and it is pretty powerful, but it does require some powers to work. Then next we have Ninja Scroll, which I had put in B tier. And again, I think I will put it together with Ornamental Fan, Shuriken, and Kunai because it triggers and it works really well together with all of those. And yeah, generally just having 3 extra attacks in turn 1. Let's put it right after them. Next we have the Pentograph. Pentograph I put in D tier together with all the other HP relics. Next we have Paper Krane and Paper Phrog. So I had put in Paper Phrog and B tier and Paper Krane in A tier, and I think that is appropriate because it is easier to apply weakness, especially with the silent, than it is to apply vulnerability with the Ironclad. And in terms of A tier, I think bottom of A tier is fine. In terms of B tier, Paper Phrog can be really powerful. Let's put it one spot up here, second to last. All right. Then next we have Pear, which is like the strawberry and other fruits. I'm going to put it in C tier. Decent. Let's probably put it in the middle here. Yeah, decent. Nothing amazing. Does help getting well fed and stuffed. Then we have Question Card, which I think is solid B tier, especially for dailies. Again, emphasizing that. It can help get more collector bonuses. So as a result, let's put it closer in the middle. Yep, right here. Okay. All right, sorry about that. I accidentally hit the back button and my whole page got reloaded, so I had to fix all the relics. Anyway, so a self-forming clay, as I mentioned, is D tier. It can be useful in self-damaged decks. It's actually very useful in self-damaged decks, but you sort of have to go for the deck, otherwise it's pretty useless. So yeah, I think solid D tier. Probably not bottom of D tier. Let's put it a little higher up, because it does give you block when you need it, so yeah, it can be useful. Then we got Singing Bowl, which I had put in D tier. Again, pretty bad for dailies, much better for Ascension runs, but yeah, I think solid D tier for Singing Bowl. Strike Dummy, I think I put in F tier, right? Yeah, it's very niche, very rarely useful. I think well-deserved F tier there. Probably bottom of F tier too. Then we got Sundial, which can be very useful with a reprogram and deep breath, as I mentioned. So I think it is C tier, probably in the middle, maybe a little lower, because you do need those. Actually, let's put them much lower. You do need those synergies. Otherwise, you need to reshuffle your deck, which does not happen a lot in daily runs. Then Courier was only S tier. Okay, yeah, definitely S tier. No questions about that. Courier is really powerful. White Beast Statue, as I mentioned, I used to not like it as much, but now it is A tier. Yeah, let's put it here. Third place in A tier. Why not? And Teardrop Locket, Watcher only. I think I did put it in F tier. Again, there can be some situations. Let's put it high F tier. Actually, there can be some situations where it can be very useful, but generally it is nice to have. But actually, I guess if it's nice to have, but not. Well, actually, the reason I put it in F tier is because it should be common, right? I don't think it should be uncommon. Then we have Symbiotic Virus, which I put in D tier. I also think this should be common, but because it can allow you to get overkill, let's put it somewhere in the middle of D tier here. Okay. And then, that was it. Okay, yeah, that's it for all the uncommon cards. So let me know in the comments, uncommon relics, I mean. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or any discussions. I do think the F tier is probably going to be a little controversial, so let me know if you strongly disagree. I think S tier is pretty clear. I wouldn't be surprised if some people argue that Mummified Hand should also be S tier, but I did place it in top of A tier. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you tomorrow with the rare relics.